Hello, welcome to Global Business. I am Imewere Uhemohai. I'm sure it's raining in your area, just like it's raining here, but it's not raining in the pockets of many Nigerians as Naira still becomes scarce. What is worse, the Naira to the dollar is almost 1,000 Naira to the dollar. Very sad. The National Bureau of Statistics worsened issues over the week when it released figures for the inflation for July. 24.08%. This is the highest figure since September 2005, when it was 24.30%. On Global Business today, we'll be looking at the increase in fuel, or is it purported increase again in fuel, which will be, if it's going to be the third time in 3 months. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says that there is no increase that's going to come up. And Zorian Pere is going to the streets to ask people, well, they've been expecting an increase, and they said there is not going to be an increase. So how are they faring, even with the current price? Zorian Pere will be telling us that on Street Business. On Talking Point, we'll be looking at the issue of palliatives for business. It's the second part of our interview, which we started last week. And of course, we'll be looking at the health sector brain drain. We told you last week, I'll be bringing you the second parts of those interviews. But first, let's go and hear what's on the news desk as we join Victor Nomsuanigo for Business Trends.
Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has granted an interim order restraining FBN Holding PLC from holding its annual general meeting AGM fixed for Tuesday, August 15, 2023, pending a hearing and determination of the motion on notice filed before it by 3 aggrieved shareholders of First Bank. By a letter dated the 14th of August 2023, the lawyers to the aggrieved shareholders have communicated the order of the court to the company and subsequently filed a notice of consequences of disobedience of court order Form 48 against FBN Holdings PLC. The Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria, NOGASA, on Monday urged the Nigerian government to fix bad roads and encourage private and modular refineries to foster the affordability of petroleum products in the country. Bennett Courier, the NOGASA president, disclosed this at a press briefing in Abuja on Monday. In his words, he said, "Flooding has ravaged many parts of the highways, causing more delays for our drivers. The roads are bad, and this has often made drivers spend days on the road when transporting products. So all we want is for the government to fix these roads to avoid more delays in product transportation." While calling for quick intervention, Mr. Courier noted that to facilitate mobility, his association has spent some amount of money on rehabilitating some sections of East-West Road to aid the transportation of petroleum products. He also called on the government to suspend the recently introduced 7.5% value-added tax imposed on automotive gas oil (AGO), known as diesel. Moving on to other news in Africa. Kenyan lender Equity Group Holdings on Tuesday reported a 14% rise in first-half pre-tax profit to 35.2 billion Kenyan shillings, rounding up to $245 million. Equity, which also operates in Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, and Democratic Republic of Congo, said growth in its subsidiaries meant that almost half of its balance sheet was now outside of Kenya. Net loans rose 26% to 817.2 billion Kenyan shillings in first 6 months of 2023, while net interest income increased 17% to 46.4 billion Kenyan shillings, and all this was stated by the Equity Chief Executive James Mwangi Total assets rose 23% to 1.6 trillion Kenyan shillings while loan loss provisions net of recoveries were up to 89% to 6.3 billion Kenyan shillings, he added. US stocks fell and oil slid over 1% on Tuesday as investors renewed fresh concerns over whether the Federal Reserve was done hiking interest rates and the resilience of China's economy. All three major US equity indexes ended the trading day lower after a stronger than expected report on US retail sales data. The US Commerce Department reported that US retail sales had increased by 0.7% in July, ahead of the 0.4% boost economists had anticipated, leading investors to wonder if the Fed may have longer on its rate hiking campaign to tame inflation. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.02%, the S&P 500 dropped 1.16%, and the Nasdaq Composite shed 1.14% in value. The dollar index, which tracks the greenback versus a basket of 6 currencies, was roughly flat, up to 0.03% to 103.22. And that's it on Business Trends. I am Victor Anegonomsu.
Hey, have you heard the news? The NNPC isn't planning to jack up fuel price anytime soon, and that's such a relief because keeping up with the high price of things lately has been really challenging. It's quite admirable to see that the NNPC are being fair and responsible with the price of fuel. I feel good about this news, but I would like to explore the opinions of others. Let's find out.
Okay, so my name is Shalom, and currently the prices of things are already really high. I mean, it's gone from 0 to 200 within the split of less than 2 months, and I don't think increasing the fuel price again would it even be comfortable for a lot of Nigerians because from for now there is no middle class again. It's either you are poor or you are rich.
My name is OGB. The issue of this fuel scandal and every other thing. First, as a dispatch rider, although I prefer walking with my bike, not car. Before, to fill my tank as it is now is like 2,000 naira. My tank is filled, but now I buy 6,000 naira. Still, my tank is still empty. So the issue of this fuel scandal is really affecting business in general, and as it is now, customers don't even call anymore because if a customer call you to pick something, and due to the fuel issue, if you give the customer price, the next thing is I think it's better for me to come and pick it. So the thing is affecting us in the general, but it's still rumor when it started that fuel from it was 5 something before, and it came to 617. Other filling station to us we think is a rumor, and actually they increased it to this present price. So I think Nigerian government always hide behind the shadow to do what they want to do. That is what I think about the fuel issue. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Firdaus, and I know they say it's for the good of the whole country, but I think we should put a stop to it. Like where it is right now, it's already unsettling for a lot of us. Like where we usually go 100 naira goes like 300 or 200, and there's no increment in a lot of people's salaries. It's like we're moving from poor to the worst of poor. So I think it's okay like this. They don't have to increase it. That's my opinion.
As expected, different people with different opinions. I am Zorian Pere from the streets of Abuja. Catch me next week on another segment of Street Business.
Well, what can I say? Nigerians are resilient in their thoughts and in their actions. No matter how tough the situation is, they always find a way out. We'll go over to our first talking point, and the first talking point is looking at the issues of the business palliatives for businesses, especially with the removal of fuel subsidy. And our interview is with Akinyosoye Franklin. Franklin Akinyose is a business development consultant. And who better knows about the business environment than Franklin? Hear him. Thank you very much for joining us on Talking Point today. We'll be looking at the business palliatives, or will I say the business goodies dished out by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu quite recently, just to assuage the labor demands, and even Nigerians who have been crying that his policies are anti-people or anti-poor. And to look at specifically at the palliatives that have been given to businesses is a business development consultant. He is Dr. Franklin Akinyose. Dr. Franklin Akinyose, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We could say that he had time. I mean, he did not have time, rather. He wanted to actually assuage people who were very upset. So he had to roll out these policies very fast.
That he had no time. I disagree. If there is anybody that has been most prepared for this position, is the current president. I might be thinking that maybe he was prepared, but some other things happened along the way that jolted him. Maybe what he met on ground, or maybe the zeal to work took over, and he was not able to look at his, his jotter or his note. All the notes he's been keeping all of this time, because he's been preparing for this for a long time, Emmanuel. And if you remember, he's been saying he's the next person to come in. So I would have expected that, being the person who's been preparing, has the money, has the wherewithal, has the connection and everything, should have put down a machinery to investigate a lot of things in Nigeria before now. Do it like 5 years ago, do it like 3 years ago, do it like 1 year ago, and between January and May, do it again. Find out, what do MSMEs need? That research is key. All right? So for the fact that he doesn't have time, I don't agree. I believe that he came into the place and was marveled by what was on ground, or his proclamation on the day of inauguration jolted everybody, including himself. So he's trying to recover now. So, and when you are trying to recover after something has jolted you, you tend to forget some other things that you planned all this while. That's what I think. But as per preparation, I think he should be the most prepared candidate for this position. Probably he has forgotten some of his notes that he took down when he was coming to vie for presidency.
Okay, let's go to the other of his policy. He talked about the fact that he was given 50 billion naira as conditional grants to 1 million nano companies between now and March 2024. What impact do you think 50,000 naira will make to 1 million nano companies? Of course, this 1 million will be in 774 local governments. That's 1,300 per local government.
50,000 will do a lot for nano businesses. My problem is not the 50,000. My problem is not in the selection or whether we have the nano businesses. My problem is, how do you get the nano business people? Because politics will always play a role in Nigeria when they are selecting people for such poverty alleviation programs. It will always be a problem. So our problem is not whether they are there. They are there. Our problem is not whether the 50,000 will make impact. It will. You call them nano, small. 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 will do. Nano is like the woman frying akara. Yeah. Nano is like the woman selling a mineral who starts with a table, half my own now, and puts mineral on top, or pure water. That's nano. Nano is the woman doing kose. Nano is the woman doing bole. So 50,000 to that kind of business is huge. A lot of them actually started with 5,000, 1,000 even. Just for those. There's a woman here, just at my junction here, who was doing this bole. The bole is the ripe, fried, roasted plantain. All right? That's what she started with one small, is it a Ghana? We call it a Ghana also. This small plate, they put charcoal, and that's what she started with. All right? But today, she has expanded to the extent of having fish, Now it's different kinds of fish, and then different roasted fishes. And then, of course, she has graduated from plantain now to yam, to sweet potato, which is the one I like because sweet potato is good for those of us with high sugar, whatever. So that's the one I told her one day, and she started doing it. So now her table is longer than mine. But when she started, the table was just about 3/4 of my own now. But now it has expanded. So I would believe that when she started then, it couldn't have been more than 5,000. That was like 5-6 years ago, 2018, 2019, just before the COVID. But now she has a very long table along the street there. And I have 4 or 5 people working for her. One of them is her daughter, who goes to school, comes back, and they start by 3-4 o'clock. They are there till like 9, and then they go home. So you can see somebody who has started with 5,000 naira and has grown. If you go to that table now with my finance, whatever, it's not less than 300,000 on that table. So I'm actually saying that the 50,000 will go a long way. One, but my issue is, will it not be political in the selection of that 1 million? Will the local government chairman not put his girlfriend's name, put his mother's name, put his sister's name? That is the issue in Nigeria. It is not like the policies are not good. It's not like, and that's why, I'm sorry I'm jumping in now, and that's why I've always advocated a PPP method of implementing some government policies. That's public-private partnership on one hand. Then this government, if Tinubu will listen, he either sets a ministry for monitoring and evaluation, or he sets up an office, a special advisor office that reports to him directly on contracts, construction, project, infrastructure monitoring, and even policies. Policies monitoring and evaluation. It should not make it a ministry thing. All right? It should make it a presidency thing. See, that is another way to create job. Employ up to 1,000 people in that place. And in that same office, I'm sorry I'm saying all of this, but it's to help my country. In that same office, have that 774 local government represented in that office. Have at least 2-3 officers in that office who is looking at Ondo West, where I'm from. Any federal government project in Ondo West is the responsibility of those 3 people to report on it on a weekly basis. And report directly to the special advisor who reports to the president. That way, all of these things will be monitored. If the local government chairman is doing the wrong thing, this monitor here, and we carry out his monitoring activities, then evaluates that local government chairman and presents a report to the federal government, to the president. The president can take it up with the governor. And if the governor is not following up, sometimes when you are in leadership position, you have to be a little bit hard, whether we like it or not. That's why I like some hard stance he's taking. It's fantastic. But they should first of all think through first before they, because when you are hard and you don't think through some certain policies before you roll it out, you will meet with stiff opposition. But when you are a Serra kind of person and you come up with some certain kind of policy, people who receive it, okay. So that ministry or special advisor's office should be created for monitoring and evaluation, so that when you are distributing this 50 billion to 1 million people, are giving them that 50,000 naira each, somebody right under your desk is giving you weekly report on it, whether it is successful or not.
So let's move over to our second talking point. And our talking point is looking at the second part of the health sector and brain drain. Dr. Kasmi Ifeanyi had been telling us the reasons why there is a brain drain. So what is the solution? These are some of the questions we shall be talking with Dr. Kasmi on the second part. Enjoy it. Our guest today is Dr. Kasmi Ifeanyi. Dr. Kasmi Ifeanyi is the Publicity Secretary of the Medical Laboratory Scientists Association in Nigeria. We'll be telling you a lot more about the issues in the sector. Doctor, welcome to the program. Okay, so when you talk about brain drain, I know that as far back as 36, 37 years ago, my mom was invited to Saudi Arabia to work there. And I know I had people who, their moms too, went there. She didn't go because she said that she had a family. And asked myself, is it that this decay you talk about has started as far back as 40 years ago, or it has gotten so worse, which is why the brain drain today is worse?
The decay has gotten worse. If you relate my earlier submissions to what you just said, 35, 40 years ago, if you go back in time, we had hospital administrators then. We had hospital secretaries then. They were people trained to manage man and material in the health system. We have abolished them. We have replaced them with people who now lead, who now manage resources with with no training. I do not even want to accord little training. No training in that regard. And so that ignited the rot. And the rot had become systemic. Now, of course, for all time, there had always been reason for people to look for greener pasture. The time you referred, anybody seeking to leave Nigeria then wanted to go, acquire some new and emerging skills, and probably come home to build capacity. That is not the case now. Those who go now are unwilling to come back. The time you referred when people in the class of your mother were going to Saudi, they were going there just like somebody would go do a vacation job, a summer job, a tenure job, and return home. In that process, you will be exposed to new way of doing things. You will acquire new skill. And so as you come here, you come to build capacity. You come to step down the knowledge you have acquired. That's not what is happening now. Because integral to, for instance, you talked about resident doctors that are on strike. Integral to the resident doctors program is the overseas attachment component. It is part of what they are agitating. And the essence of that is to allow them go abroad. We know we're a developing country. We know we are a resource-limited country. And so they go to these developed countries where they have available resources, real-time cutting-edge technology, and they see how things are done there. They learn a few skills. They can come here and step it down, integrate that into our care process. So that has been age-long practice. What we're talking about now is that, for instance, in the Federal Capital Territory Administration, I give a vague figure. Assuming they had 1,000 doctors, I tell you as of today, they do not have up to 500 left. And that's why it's become a topical issue, so much so that the National Association of Resident Doctors of Nigeria had made it a strike demand, key. The number one item in their demand is a halt to the mass exodus of clinical staff. And when we talk about clinical staff, you're talking about doctors, nurses, medical laboratory scientists, and pharmacists. Because when you go to hospital, it is 4 round. You see your doctor. If you have an outpatient condition, you are sent to the lab for investigation. It is done, and you are given a prescription. You pick from the pharmacy, and you go. These are clinical staff. Now, if you are an inpatient, of course, you'll be sent to the ward, and the nurse will care for you. The lab will continue to monitor you and then follow up with your treatment. So you find out that the exodus is around the core clinical staff. And that's why NAD had made it number one, premium demand for this ongoing strike. So having said that, it's not just only doctors and nurses that are leaving. Very many other persons are leaving. This morning, a friend of mine, a physiotherapist, put a video call via WhatsApp. And I was wondering, why would this person be calling me this early morning? Only to announce to me that she is now in the UK. So the point is that people are leaving. Why are they leaving? We can disaggregate the cause. And that's why I said, for the countries that are going to, the countries are in their need of energetic, full-strength health workforce. For the countries that are living because we are becoming pariah. Permit my word. Our system is becoming pariah. And so they are now very, very unsafe. They are unsafe with regard to their job. They are unsafe with regard to their earning. They are unsafe. They are not sure they will not become victim of kidnap. Very many healthcare workers have been victims of kidnap and maiming and killing. The country is becoming increasingly unsafe in terms of security. So, but the point here is that what is the take-home pay of an average Nigerian doctor, consultant inclusive? So when it comes to today, the dollar is about 850 naira. Of course, it's floated, so we don't have any two window. That means any Nigerian doctor who earns less than 850 earns less than $1,000. And I told you that is less than 10% of what they can earn in a week. So who would want to stay? Now, in addition to that, those who, because of patriotism, want to stay in country to help build the system, they go to the place they are supposed to work, they can't find supportive environment to work. How many of our doctors have moderately equipped consulting room? What is the state of our medical laboratories in secondary and tertiary hospitals? We have close to over 25,000 primary healthcare centers scattered across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Less than 0.001% of these primary healthcare centers have laboratory components for testing for small things like malaria and anemia. We have done safe motherhood programs of different sorts, and we have refused to factor laboratory components into those antenatal packages. We recently, March 2022 to be precise, the Primary Healthcare Development Agency of Nigeria reviewed the minimum package of health pursuant to the provisions of the 2014 National Health Act. Yet, missing conspicuously is the laboratory component of that minimum package for health. So the point need be made unequivocally that we have inimical work conditions in country, and that's why people, healthcare professionals, are living in droves. We are receiving less than living wages. In short, let me be categorical. No Nigerian doctor is paid enough wage that can take them home. That is the truth.
And so, this is where we wrap it up on Global Business today. I hope you've enjoyed every bit of it. Did you see or take home anything that you will use for the week? Then take it. It's yours for the grabbing. It's always nice doing business with you. This is a production of Cinema. I am Imewere Uhiamokai. Have a great week.